Hey guys, welcome back to the Sniper and Chronicles. Today we're coming back at you with another Ratchet style video. Uh, Here we have a Ratchet adapter from the Mac company. But before we jump into this, as always, if you find these videos helpful or entertaining in any way, could you please give me a like and also hit the subscribe button for me. I got a little goal going on right now where I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers by around New Year's. So if you guys can help me out, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so we have this Ratchet adapter. It's a Mac Ratchet adapter. It's the RA38-A, made in USA, patented. And here's some instructions on how to switch it. It's a 3/8 model. Here's the switch button. Has like a sort of an interesting switching mechanism. But this actually is from another company, or patent from another company. This is actually a New Britain design. The New Britain, I think, is NB-12, is the same as this one. In the 80s, sometime during the 80s, I think the early 80s, Stanley acquired Mac, and they had also acquired New Britain. So that's why we see some Stanley ratchets, branded Stanley, that are obvious Mac ratchets that were made by Mac. And I guess since they had both companies, they just switched names on different designs. So they rebranded this socket or ratchet adapter as a Mac from New Britain. It's probably made by New Britain also. So that's a little bit of the history of that. And it's kind of a fine tooth adapter. Usually you see in a lot of these adapters that they'll be pretty coarse, in the 20s or 30 teeth count. They're as a rule, they're pretty coarse, these ratchet adapters, but this one seems to be kind of a fine tooth. And the way to switch it is whichever way it's going, you press the button down and keep going, and then it clicks, and then it goes the opposite way. And then you press the button down in the same way it was going, and then now it goes the opposite. And we'll get into that when we open this up to see what is actually switching this in this button. What's going on? Okay, I cheated a little bit. I lifted up the ring there. It's a ring on the inside of the mechanism here, the anvil. It's a ring on the inside, and just to save some time, I lifted up the edge there, and this is kind of how you take it out. Go all the way around. And your usual culprit, ring, coil ring that goes around. And what we do, we just lift out on the mechanism, and this button's gonna fall out like that. And there's the button. And let's look at the housing. But before we do that, here's the button. There's no spring on this button or anything. It's just a metal button with a little bit of hollowness on the bottom there. And here's the housing. And pretty good job. This is, I'm pretty sure New Britain did this, made this ratchet, so it's par for the course with New Britain, that they did a very nice job with the broaching. All the teeth are uniform, they go all the way to the end. No broken teeth on the edges. Very nice. Not sure how many teeth are here. I would think they number in the 60s. So kind of a fine tooth ratchet adapter. That's the hole. There's a little bit of chamfering there. The hole for the button. And that's kind of, when they broached it, that's kind of what they left on the 3/8 female side. On the inside, I guess they left that metal chaff in there, I guess, to cover the hole. And here's the female end. Pretty nice. Well done. Okay, here's the mechanism, and this is, you guys have seen this before, I'm sure. It's the New Britain floating pawl mechanism that they're famous for. And just to compare, this is 3/8, right? And I got a Husky here, which is the same 3/8 drive. And here's the patents, so you know it's the same mechanism. This is a Husky CB43, by the way. And we'll just take the mechanism out. This is the usual floating pawl mechanism from New Britain. And if you compare it to the ratchet adapter, you can see that the pawl on the ratchet adapter is a lot more beefier. That's how they are side by side. It's a wider pawl there. I think maybe the same tooth count. I didn't count them, but it's a more robust pawl on the ratchet adapter. And this is the usual mechanism that we see on the New Britain designs for their ratchets, and this is the design they did for the ratchet adapter. Looks a little bit different. What happens here is the switch. This disc here is what switches back and forth, and when you press down on the button catches on the edge here of these grooves on the edge of the switch. It presses down, it holds them there, so when you go to switch, it holds it down and lets you switch from whatever side you want it to go. So yeah, that's how this mechanism functions. And so, but there's a little bit difference from this to the regular ratchet, and we're gonna check out when we break it down some more. Here's my Dollar Tree set screwdriver, and you guys are like, well, these are garbage. Well, let's see. I use these because they, believe it or not, once in a blue moon they come in handy for different things. So there's a little ring here, and I try to get the screwdriver there to pry it out a little bit. There you go. This is the little ring that holds on to the disc here, and when we lift the disc, there's a couple of things going on here. Okay. Okay, this is the switch. It's like the other one, like the kind of like the Ratchet. It has two switch plates. Here's the switch, the top plate itself with the coarse edge there, and then we have the bottom plate, which actually that groove or cutout there goes into that cutout like that, and it's held in place by this little protrusion, and that's what holds, and this part goes into the grooves of the pawl and switches the pawl back and forth like that. And these protrusions here on the side of the switch, they correspond to these ball bearings, and that's how the switching keeps itself in place. It's a little bit different than the other, than this design, which is the Ratchet design. You see the two plates, and then no ball bearings, keeping this in switching from side to side. And there's the spring on the bottom instead that keeps it stable. So you have these little ball bearings here. And there are springs in here. Here's the pawl, wants to float away. And we have these little springs that are underneath the ball bearings. So I'll just keep them in there so we won't lose them. And here's the spring that goes underneath the pawl that helps it float. Boy. And we'll just keep that in there. If I can get it in there. There you go. Okay, so here's the rest of the mechanism. It's the ball detent. Looks pretty nice, professional. Good job there. And the rest of it is pretty basic. It's just kind of one piece. It's been machined out here. The one point I always think is a pretty good feat on these from a machining point of view is that they always have this cutout that's not added. This is all one piece, and this is part of the forging, and it was just machined out instead of just like pressing in a piece there. This protrusion here that holds the switch is part of the whole forging. And I don't know, I think that's kind of I would think that's kind of hard to do nowadays, to machine that in and then machine that little groove there for the what do you call it, the snap ring, that little snap ring. So that's kind of I don't know, I think that's pretty high quality. And the last thing is the pawl. And here's the pawl. It's, like I said, it's a pretty big pawl compared to like a regular Ratchet pawl in the same size, 3/8. This one's quite a bit wider. I guess this one takes more torque than would the 3/8 Ratchet one. Being this is designed, I guess, for breaker bars. I guess that makes sense that they would it would have a bigger pawl. to get this back together, you just put your pole on top of the spring there. You get your little ball bearings, and this is what they look like. They're kind of small. And you put those on top of the springs. Like that. Now you take your secondary plate, I guess, and you put that in the hole there, and make sure it gets into those protrusions, inside the protrusions of the pole. So you press it down like that, make sure those protrusions are inside the corners there. Okay, now you take your switch. Remember that this protrusion on the bottom of the switch has to go to the bottom square cutout there. And it should look like that. See the protrusion there? It's in the cutout. Okay, now you take your little snap ring. Get that in the groove there. Need a pair of needle nose here to lock that in the groove like that. See if it's switching. Yep, it's switching. Now you take your little button and you get that on the inside and point it out of the hole. Like that. You get your mechanism in. You might want to point the button down so it won't fall out. And you want to press the pole down a bit. Now you see if it's switching. Yep, it's switching. Now you get your ring in there. I'm not gonna do that. It's gonna take me too long, and this video is running a little bit long. So you get the idea. You start your ring and you put it in the groove, and then you mash it down around the edge, and that's how you get it on there. But yeah, that's the teardown and review of this Mac RA38-A, made in the USA, really rebranded New Britain NB-12 ratchet adapter. Nice in that it's a fine-tooth ratchet adapter, and it has kind of a well-regarded mechanism that's pretty strong. You know, you don't hear too many complaints with this mechanism. So, alright guys, until next time.